Shri Harim Paramanandam Upadeshtarameshwaram Vyapakam Sarvalokanam Karanam Tam Namamyaham. In Aparokshanubhuti, we were studying Nididhyasana, Vedantic meditation. You know, when studying Vedanta, there are three stages. First, Shravana, hearing or systematic study. Manana, where you reflect, reason. And then Nididhyasana, which is just a fancy word for meditation, Sanskrit word for dhyana, meditation. Now, we are in that stage, studying what exactly is Vedantic meditation. And the author, Adi Shankaracharya, has taken a very interesting approach. He has borrowed terms from yoga. Yoga is actually the science of meditation, so they are experts in meditation. He has borrowed the terms from yoga and then changed the meaning. He's given new interpretations in the light of Vedanta. So 15 practices to stabilize us in the awareness of Brahman or in our identity as Brahman. 15 practices. All of these terms are borrowed from some aspect of yoga or the other. Especially 8 of them are borrowed from the famous Ashtanga Yoga of Patanjali. In the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, you will find Ashtanga Yoga. So 8 of those, the terms are borrowed from the 8-limbed yoga of Patanjali. But then there are others also, 7 others. So total of 15 terms. We have already seen Yama, Niyama, then Maunam, Tyaga, and 4 of them, I think. Maunam and Tyaga. Yes. Tyaga and Maunam. Correct. Now the 5th one will come. In each of these cases, we have seen the basic yogic practice followed by the advanced Vedantic practice. The advanced Vedantic, I would not say practice, but interpretation. Let us go to verse number 110. The next practice will be Desha. Desha means literally space, but also means place. Place. 110. Adavante cha madhye cha Adavante cha madhye cha Jano yasminna vidyate Jano yasminna vidyate Yenedam satatam vyaptam Yenedam satatam vyaptam Sadesho vijana smritaha Sadesho vijana smritaha. So that solitude is known as a space wherein the universe does not exist in the beginning, end or middle, but whereby it is pervaded at all times. What does this mean? First, the basic practice, the yogic practice. We all know that there are places which are conducive to meditation, to contemplation, to quietude, and there are places which are not. So you can go to a temple or to a meditation hall and sit quietly for meditation. If you go to a sports stadium when the Yankees game is going on, you can't sit quietly for meditation. It's not just because of the sound or the place, it's the very vibration of the place where your mind is turned outwards. You're forced to look at what's going on there. So in a mall, it's difficult to sit and meditate. But if you go to a mountain cave, it's easier to sit and meditate. So a place, some places are conducive to meditation, and that is what is meant by desha. Desha means place, a suitable place. And in India, or in different religions also, you've always had serious practitioners seeking out suitable places for practice. We know of yogis who go away to mountains and sit in mountain caves as he writes, solitude. In solitude, or in forests. We know of the desert fathers, the early Christian fathers who went out into the desert. Why the desert? Why not the city? The desert because of the solitude, of where you are left alone. Vivekananda put it very powerfully. By the world forgotten and the world forgetting. What are you looking for? By the world forgotten and the world forgetting. So everybody in the world has forgotten you. You don't look happy at that thought. It is the happiest state possible. We think that the people in the world should think of us and remember us, and I will think about the world and I will be happy. That is the trap. And we have been in this trap for life after life. God knows how many lives. Vivekananda said, thine only is the hand that holds the rope that drags thee on. Let go thy hold, sannyasi bold. Say Om Tat Sat Om. If you don't want to be hurt, you don't want to be dragged from lifetime to lifetime, you must let go of your hold on the rope. What is the rope? The world. The attachment to the world. This dwelling on the world and worldly things and people, object, outside. Now, the interesting thing is the world forgets you very fast. I can tell you that as a monk. The world forgets you very fast. Maybe your mother might remember you a little bit for some time, but everybody else forgets you very fast. It is the monk knows that it is harder to forget the world. That goes away slowly. It takes more time. It takes more time to drain it from your mind, where we have sunk the mind in worldliness. People in the world are busy with their own lives, so they'll forget you very fast if you drop out of their lives. But because we have sunk the mind in worldliness, so to remove the world totally from the mind, that takes sadhana. So the world forgotten and the world forgetting, he says. So that is solitude. In the Bhagavad Gita also, Sri Krishna says, the yogis are supposed to seek solitude, away from the crowd. Aratir jana samsadi. In 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna uses a phrase, dislike for crowds of men. Dislike for gatherings, for crowds. Somebody says, but I love crowds. And what about being alone? I hate being alone. Terrible condition. Terrible condition. That means you can't be left to your own company. When we are alone, whose company do you have? Your own company. If you cannot stand that, then why should anybody else stand your company? If I cannot stand my own company, I myself, with myself, how can I expect anybody else to bear with me? So those who cannot stand solitude, they cannot stand there themselves. I told you the funny story, I think earlier once, about the teacher many years ago. I was in one of our Ramakrishna mission schools, and one of the teachers in the school, a very humorous gentleman, he was a teacher of Bengali, but he was always up for any kind of the substitute classes, you say, when one teacher is not there, so somebody else comes and takes the class, gives the class. So he would be ready to teach any subject. It's not just Bengali, but if you say science or mathematics or anything on earth, he would be up for it. And he would say, I'll go to the class and teach that subject. And we would always wonder, how did he manage every subject on earth? So one day, the English teacher was absent. It was, I think, grade 7 or grade 8. And of course, this gentleman volunteered, I'll teach English poetry. And so he went off to teach. And we were sitting in the teacher's common room. And suddenly this gentleman, in the middle of the class period, he came in a cloud of chalk dust, flustered. He rushed into the teacher's room where we were all sitting. I was a novice monk at that time. I also used to teach the students there. So this gentleman rushed in and we looked at what happened. He looks very flustered. And he goes to the dictionary, and he opens the dictionary, he flaps through the pages, flips through the pages, and then rushes off again in a cloud of chalk dust. When the class was over, he came back and we asked him, "What was that? Why did you suddenly come in the middle of the class?" He said, "Oh, you don't know the troubles I have seen. Today I went to teach poetry, and it was grade 7 or 8, and they were studying Wordsworth, the Solitary Reaper." So one of the little boys stood up and asked, "Sir, what does solitude mean?" And then this gentleman said, "I have heard of latitude, and I have heard of longitude, I have heard of attitude, I have heard of altitude, but I haven't heard of solitude. What is solitude?" And I told the boy, "Good question. Keep standing. I'll be back." And then he ran downstairs to where the dictionary was, and he found out what was solitude. Anyway, just by the way. So, yogis are those who are supposed to seek solitude. Desha, place, means where there are no crowds, where you are left to yourself. That's why they seek solitude. Those who seek crowds, not a very spiritual inclination. Remember, later on, in advanced spiritual states, whether you are alone or in a crowd, you're perfectly one with God. It does not make a difference. You can be in the midst of thousands of people, absolutely calm, or by yourself and absolutely peaceful. But in general, what happens to most people is, when they are left alone, they are lonely. I mentioned, I think, that in England they have appointed a minister of loneliness. So loneliness is a big problem. If you're left alone, you're scared because you feel lonely. And if such people are put in a crowd of people, they feel extroverted. Their minds are in a dozen different things. Both will not do. In spiritual life, it will not be. It does not pay to be extroverted, and loneliness is not a sign of spirituality. One must enjoy solitude. So solitary places are specially the favorites of yogis, or meditators. But that's not enough. Just a solitary place is not enough. It must be conducive to spiritual thought. And often, one interesting thing I've noticed is different places I have visited, stayed, tried to meditate. Often it is a pilgrim center, a place, a sacred place where there's a temple, something associated with spirituality. A lot of people have practiced meditation for centuries together. There is a certain vibration in that place. And if you go there, although there are people around, although it's not really solitary, but your mind is more meditative. I have seen, I'll give you an example. I remember once I went to this place seeking solitude. I knew what solitude was. So, seeking solitude. And a very beautiful place up in the Himalayas, a strip of land with the Ganges flowing by very fast and two mountain rivers coming down. So it makes a triangle. 3 rivers, and in between there is this strip of land and old temples there. And they allowed monks to stay there. And absolutely solitary. I wanted to ask, the temple priest would come once in a day in the morning. So I asked him once, where do I take a bath? And he said, you can go down to this particular river, it's safe. It's a mountain stream. And you need not be shy, Swami, because there's nobody around. So I used to go and take a bath there. Next day he came back and said, Swami, I forgot to tell you, you should watch out for the bears. And you have told me yesterday, I would have been. I happily went there and took my bath in the river, but I would have been terrified if I knew bears were around. So solitary places have their problems. Now, I did not find it particularly spiritual. It was very beautiful, but not particularly deep or elevating. In contrast, I found the other place I went to on that particular trip, Uttarkashi, which is now quite a crowded place. There are people, it's a district town, there are a lot of people. But there, your mind gets meditative almost automatically. There are times of the day, mind becomes meditative almost automatically. So it's not literally that if too many people are there, it's not conducive to meditation. And if you're completely alone, it's conducive to meditation. Again, not necessarily. If you go and sit in the jungle, you might think that your mind will become concentrated. Quite the opposite, I assure you. You will keep jumping up at every little snapping of a twig and every little movement in the forest and in the bush. You'll think maybe a tiger is coming or a leopard is coming or something is happening. It's quite scary actually. Go and sit under a tree. People won't bother you, but then mosquitoes will. And then there'll be ants making a queue to climb up on your meditation mat or something. So there are other problems other than people. And people too. One Swami said he went to a remote place so that he'll be away and quite some distance from the nearest village. So he would go to beg in the village for his food and come back, and in the distance, in the remote place, he would sit and meditate under a tree. One day, one of the villagers who was very devout said, "Swami, you did not travel so far to the village. I'll come tomorrow with your food." The Swami said, "Okay." And the next day, the villager came as promised, with a bundle of food, spread it out before the Swami. And then the Swami looked at him and, "Aren't you going to go back to the village?" And the villager said, "No, I don't have much to do in the village. I'll spend a day with you till evening." That's it. Solitude gone. So, holy company. That reminds me of a funny joke that Swami Ashokananda, somebody wrote in San Francisco, somebody wrote to Swami Ashokananda, a lady, that, "Swami, I have a desire for holy company." And the Swami wrote back to that lady, "I am very glad to know, madam, that you desire holy company, but the real question is, do the holy desire your company?" So solitude. Sometimes the holy might want their solitude. They might not want people at all hours coming and talking. But this is also, remember, it's a stage in spiritual climbing. Those who are established in spirituality, they are very happy in the company of people. They are very happy when left alone. I remember one monk I met in the Himalayas. He lived there all year round in Gangotri. So, if I'll describe him, if you have seen the movie Lord of the Rings, and the magician was there, Gandalf. Yeah, long white robe, long white beard, exactly like that. His beard was even longer. His Punjabi, very tall, fair, and long white robe and long. His brahmachari, so white robe and white beard. And he used to stay in this little hut. I stayed in the hut next to his. So I used to talk with him. His name was Brahma Chaitanya. Now, all year round he would stay. He would sit and meditate throughout the day. He would go for food. I would accompany him to beg for food and so on. So I said, and that was the tourist season, the pilgrim season. So there were a lot of people who would come to visit. And the children loved him. So they were in awe of him with all those long beard, and he looked so they would crowd around him. So one day I asked him, you are, now there are people who visit you. We are there, some people come, the children come. So you have some company. But in the winter months when there is nobody at all, it's just snow all around for 5 or 6 months in a year, and just nobody around. So what do you do then? And his answer, I'll tell you in Hindi and then translate. Ab maze mein hai, tab aur bhi maze mein hai. I am very happy now, and then at that time I am even happier. I am most happy now, and at that time even happier, when there's nobody around. Okay. So solitude, good for conducive for meditation, but more than just a solitary place, it's a spiritual place which is conducive for meditation, even if people are there. So you go to a place like Banaras or Vrindavan, Puri Jagannath, or other places, pilgrim places. You go to one of the ancient temples of the south, more than 1,000 years old. Sit in a corner of the stone, the Nat Mandir or somewhere. These structures are more than 1,000 years old. Sadhakas have done spiritual practice for centuries. You will see how quickly your mind becomes absorbed. But that is the preliminary practice. What is meant, what does Shankaracharya mean by desha, place, solitary place? What is solitude according to Shankaracharya? Here desha they have interpreted in the sense of solitude mostly, solitary place. He says, that is solitude, that place is solitary, where there is nobody in the beginning, now or in the future. There never was anybody, there is nobody, there never will be anybody. In the midst of a crowd, can you be completely alone? You see, nobody is there. What is this solitude then, when there is nobody? That is Brahman. Brahman is non-dual, without a second. The Absolute is without a second. Satchidananda without a second. An ocean of existence, consciousness, bliss without a second. That you are. If you stabilize yourself in that awareness, you will see that nobody else exists at all. If all the universe is one with you, follow this. If the entire universe is one with you, it means there is no second entity. No? No, not getting across. Let me give you an example. In your dream, you see a lot of people. You meet a lot of people. Maybe you are walking down a city street and you meet so many people. Some you know, many you do not know. People are coming and going. It's very busy. And suddenly you wake up. You're sitting on your bed. It was just a vivid dream. Now let me ask you. Look back upon your dream. That busy street, so many activities, so many people, cars and buses and all of that. Really speaking, how many were there? How many? Zero? You're counting yourself or not? One. There was no second person apart from you, the dreamer. That whole city scene in which you were there and many others were there, all of it was dreamt up in your mind. It's completely desolate of people. There's no second person there. It looks like you are there and many other people are interacting. Friends and people you know and people who are strangers and things are happening. Nothing. Only you are there. Is it true or not? Do you understand the example? No, even the example is not clear. Okay. Exactly like that is the situation now. For the spiritually enlightened, they realize one Brahman alone exists and the entire universe is one with that Brahman. All beings in the self and the self in all beings. How many selves are there? One self alone. When you realize that, that is real solitude. Never was there anybody or anything apart from you. Never will there be anybody or anything apart from you. Right now also there is nothing apart from you. They are all your own self. But here self does not mean the person. As persons we are different. Bodies we are different. Little persons in the mind we are different. But behind all of this is the one sun of consciousness of which we are rays. That sun of consciousness falling upon these little whirlpools of matter. Don't go by the language I'm using. The language is just using for the sake of conveying a message. These little whirlpools of matter, consciousness reflected in them, starts acting as a person and different persons. But behind all of them is one consciousness. That is the alone. Alone with a capital A. I think it was the Christian mystic who defined spirituality, maybe Meister Eckhart or somebody, as the flight of the alone to the alone. Alone, small a. Flight of the alone to the alone. The second alone is capital A. Alone means, the first alone means the jiva. In a very practical sense, we are all alone actually. We are born alone. We die alone. But in between we have many people? No. In between also we are islands. We communicate through this, through our senses. We see other people, we transact with them, like going in a train journey. Some people come and sit next to you for some time and then they get off. Or you get off. So we are in the middle of life also, we are alone, actually. So this is the small a alone, the jiva. And the capital A alone is Brahman. The flight of the alone to the alone. But don't worry, Brahman is not lonely. Because Brahman is one with everything. Brahman is perfect identity with the entire universe, oneness with everything. We sometimes get an intuition of an underlying oneness. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes a feeling of oneness with everything. That is an intuition of the reality which exists underneath the diversity. That oneness is real solitude. And that solitude exists always. So if you are established in that solitude, you need not run away to a mountain cave to find solitude. You will find solitude in the middle of the crowd, you will find solitude in the family, you will find solitude in your workplace, in walking in Times Square, you will find solitude. Absolute peace, the peace and quiet. Vivekananda said, the peace and quiet of the desert, of the mountain cave, you can find while walking in the middle of Times Square also. I think he used the words, there were a busy street in New York, he used the word Swami Vivekananda. You can find a Himalayan quiet there. It is absolutely true. Literally, he was not being rhetorical. He literally means it. Because Brahman, in Brahman, established in Brahman, you always enjoy solitude. Now he says, at the beginning and then the end and in the middle, where there is nobody. There is only one reality. By that reality, everything here is pervaded. Establish yourself in that reality, not in the world. Then you will have true solitude. When? All the time. Whenever you want, you'll have true solitude. Vivekananda, in another place he says, he who runs away from the world to meditate and die in a Himalayan cave has missed the way. He who plunges headlong into the foolishness, the luxuries and the vanities of life, he has missed the way. So if you plunge into life, you miss the way. If you run away from life, you have missed the way. Then what is the way? He says the way is to divinize life, is to see God in everything and everybody. Wherever you are, with whomever you are, you see God there. If you can see it there, you can see it everywhere. So that is solitude. In one word, the place or space. The yogic practice is seeking a solitary place, a place which has spiritual vibration. That's good. One should do that. That's why you feel like meditating when you come to, say, Vedanta society. But the advanced practices, the higher Vedantic conception of space is, solitude is Brahman. In one word, Brahman itself, the absolute itself. It is the real solitude. Next, 111. Kalanat sarvabhutanam, brahmadinam nimeshata, kala shabdena nirdishto, Yakhandananda kodvayaha. The non-dual Brahman, that is bliss, indivisible, is actually real time, because it brings into existence in a twinkling of an eye all beings from Brahma downwards. Now what does this mean? The next item in the 15 steps or 15 aspects of meditation, Vedantic meditation, next aspect is time. Kala, time. We are always advised by our gurus that when you meditate, have a fixed time. Sit down in the morning and meditate. Sit down in the evening and meditate. Why? First, one reason is that mind gets used to a certain rhythm. So at that time itself, you will feel like becoming quiet and sitting quietly and thinking of God. That's one reason, psychological. But there is also a natural reason. There are times in the day when it is times which are conducive to meditation. Just as some places are conducive to meditation, there are some times which are conducive to meditation. Early morning is one of them. Evening is one of them. Night is another time. Specific moments in specific places. Swami Brahmananda was very sensitive to these things. So he would say, a spiritual current flows in holy places at particular times. He said in Belur Mutt and Bhuvaneshwar, he said, it is 4 a.m. in the morning. 4 a.m. in the morning. That's a time specially suited for meditation. Time, Kala. In Kashi, he said it is from 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. You might be thinking none of them are convenient times. It is 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. Well, in Puri it is more convenient. It is 2 p.m. in the afternoon, he said. In Puri, Jagannath Puri. In Vrindavan, he said it is midnight. There is a yogi's mind very sensitive to at times when the spiritual vibration is very strong. You sit and meditate, quickly your mind will become concentrated on God. So there are places where your mind becomes concentrated easily, and there are times. 4 a.m. is known as Brahma Muhurta, the time, the moment of Brahman, the time of Brahman. So in the main monastery in Belur, a bell is rung to wake you up, so that you can go and catch that moment and sit and meditate. One Swami in the Himalayas put it this way, that he who does not see the light of the rising sun, who sleeps through the light of the rising sun, the light of Brahman will never shine on his life. So, it's a good practice to get up early in the morning and meditate, but don't be disheartened if you don't do that. So light of Brahman will never shine. Well, you are the light of Brahman, so don't take that literally. But it's a very good practice. There are times when meditation is easier, kala, time. Sandhya, these are coming from the word sandhi. Sandhi means the meeting point of the movements of nature. So night to day, at daybreak, that's one juncture. Then midday, the day becomes afternoon. Then evening, as the sun sets. So these are 3 different times when spiritual rituals or prayers are performed. The time, so sandhya. So different times are there. Pujas, time, a particular time for pujas, for rituals, a particular times are there, auspicious times, good times for meditation. Now that is the usual understanding of time. Now to understand what Shankaracharya has said here, I think you already know what he's going to say. What is time? Brahman, no doubt about it, he's going to say that. But what does he mean here? To understand that, see, time, one aspect of time is seen as the origin of everything. So all things are born in time. They exist in time and they die in time also. But in time, all things are born. All things are manifested. Things come into existence. Things come into appearance in time. So time is seen as that which originates, which helps in the origination of things. Source of things. Kala is the source of things. Now in that sense, he says, there is one reality which is the source of everything in the universe. From the highest of the gods, Brahma, not Brahman, but Brahma, all the gods and heavens and creatures and earths and hells, all of them are produced. How long does it take Brahman to produce the universe? A few billion years. He says, Nimeshata, in the twinkling of an eye. In our scriptures, there are descriptions of how from the Atman, space was produced, from the space, air, and from the air, fire, from the fire, water, from the water, earth, how with their combination the worlds were created, life evolved. So that must have taken some time. That's one way of looking at Srishti, called Krama, sequential creation. But there is a higher understanding of Srishti, which is instantaneous creation of the entire universe. To understand that, again, think of the dream.
Yeah.
When you go into a dream, an entire universe, if you're dreaming of New York, or in this weather you're dreaming of California, the Pacific Ocean and the sunlight, and say San Diego and the beach and all of that you're thinking of, how long did it take you to create that? Did you say, I have to start with the Big Bang? No. Do you start each dream universe with the Big Bang? No. Instantaneous, he says, nimeshata, in the twinkling of an eye. You create, I create, in our own dreams. From Brahman, the appearance of the entire universe is exactly like that. Because after all, it's not a real creation. It's Brahman alone which appears as this. In ignorance, a universe. In knowledge, if you see through the names and forms, it is Brahman only. So because it is the source of all things, Brahman is called Kala, time. Because time is the source of all things. Brahman is really the source of all things. So it is called time. Brahman is the real time. In fact, space and time and causation come after Brahman. Space, time and causation are called Maya. It is Brahman through space, time and causation which appears as this universe. So, time is ultimately not real. Space is ultimately not real. Causation is not ultimately real. Ultimately, they are all Satchidananda. If you remove the changes in time, that which goes and comes, follow this carefully, that which goes and comes in time, hours, minutes, seconds, remove that. You come to a timeless state which is Brahman. Time is an illusory appearance, something superimposed upon Brahman. If you go to the ground of that illusion, you will go beyond time and you will reach Brahman. That is our own self. So time. And he says, what is time? Akhandanandako advayaha. The non-dual bliss is time. Brahman, the non-dual bliss, is the source of all time. Next practice. We have done yama, niyama, tyaga, mauna. Mauna means silence. Desha, kala, time and place. The next one is asana. Asana means sitting. Here we are back to the sequence of Patanjali Yoga. Do you remember the eightfold yoga of Patanjali? The 8 limbs of Patanjali's yoga? Yama, niyama, asana. Can anyone tell me? Pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. So the 8 limbs of Patanjali Yoga is the ultimate science of meditation. The science of focus, of meditation. So 8 limbs. Yama and niyama, the preliminary moral practices. Then third one is asana there. Asana means how to sit. So here he has come to this asana, sitting. You'll ask, do I have to learn how to sit? Yes, not only you need to learn how to sit, next you have to learn how to breathe also. We think we are doing it properly, we are not. We don't sit properly, we slouch. And that is not good for meditation. One meditation teacher, very unsophisticated but effective meditation teacher, I heard him giving instructions for meditation. Hilo mat, bolo mat, socho mat. Don't move. You get, oh, okay, freeze, don't move. Don't speak. Don't think. So, very crude, no sophistication there, but it works. So the first one is don't move. The first thing about asana is, can you sit without moving? It's not as easy. You think that's easy, I can sit, just sit. No, it's not that easy. If your posture is not right, you'll be forced to move again and again. Not only that, the human body is continuously moving and vibrating. I read an article by one of those Olympic rifle shooters competition. Target, they try to hit a target. And the shooter was saying That it's only when you are trying to shoot a target which is a long distance away, and even a slightest trembling of your hand can throw your shot off mark, then you realize how much the body is trembling, how much the human body is trembling. And one thing they do, very interesting, is just at the moment of shooting, they have to hold their breath. It's kumbhaka, it's basically pranayama. At the moment of intense focus, our breath automatically stops. Have you seen a tiger or a cheetah hunting? Just before bursting into activity and chasing the prey, it will absolutely still, like holding its breath. So, asana, stillness is required. How to sit. And in yoga, in Hatha Yoga, there are variety of asanas suitable for meditation. They may seem uncomfortable. Lotus position, you'll say, my knees are hurting or feet are hurting. But once you practice them, they have been designed to help you to sit properly for long hours without moving. So in fact, the definition of asana is, the asana means sitting. The posture in which you sit. Actually, there are two meanings of asana. Literally, it means the seat. This is an asana. This thing I'm sitting on. The seat on which you're sitting, that's an asana. So even the chair would be considered an asana. But actually, what is really meant is the posture in which you are sitting. So yoga, Hatha Yoga has multiple postures called asanas, and some of those postures are actually specifically meant for meditation. Most famous, we have heard of Padmasana, lotus posture, but difficult. You can get a pain in your knees very soon. There are different postures, Vajrasana. All of those asanas meant for meditation, they have a common definition. The definition is that which you can maintain easily without moving for a long period of time. Sukham, sthiram, without moving, and pleasant. None of them are pleasant to begin with. Once you get used to them, they require a degree of little bit of physical fitness. So then you can maintain it for hours. In our main monastery in Belur Math, I have seen a 70-year-old monk sitting for 8 hours at a stretch. I had to get up a number of times in between. Whole night sitting there in meditation. Sitting at 9 o'clock in the night, and then getting up at, say, 5 o'clock in the next morning. Absolutely. Not drowsy, not going off to sleep, not sitting like this. Absolutely straight. So that shows tremendous focus somewhere inside, where is absorbed and the world forgotten. That is real asana. They say asan siddha. Asan siddha means somebody who can sit in the same posture for a long time. Not easy. Hour after hour sitting steadily without movement, it shows not only the body is steady, but the mind is also steady. If the mind were not steady, the body would also move. How steady should we keep? It should not be a rigid thing. If you are rigidly trying to keep it steady, then you will become tired very soon. And aches and pains will develop in different parts of the body. So it should be a relaxed sitting, but not slouching. As far as possible, relaxed, sitting straight. If you don't sit straight, you can yourself see. If you sit straight, it's easier to concentrate the mind. If you sit like this, sign of depression. You'll very soon feel depressed if you sit like this. So sitting straight. Different asanas are there. If you go to yoga teachers, they will teach you. Other than easier asanas than Padmasana, two are being mentioned here, just for example. One is Sukhasana. Literally it means the pleasant asana. Sukha means happiness, pleasant. Another one he will talk about is Siddhasana. But these are just samples. These are different postures of sitting. But you know what Shankaracharya means by asana? What do you think he means? Brahman, yes. He has a one-point agenda. What is real asana? That is Brahman. Let's see. First, 112. Sukhe naiva bhavedyasmin. Sukhe naiva bhavedyasmin. Ajasram brahma chintanam. Ajasram Brahma Chintanam Asanam Tadvijaniyat Vasanam Tadvijaniyat Netarat Sukhanashanam Netarat Sukhanashanam. Know that to be the real posture, real asana, in which you can meditate happily on God, on Brahman. Not anything else which gives rise to aches and pains and you have to fidget and move around. That is not asana. So asana is somewhere you can sit comfortably. That's why many people, especially in the West and now in India too in these days, they find it difficult to sit on the floor. So can we sit on the chair? Of course. After all, look at the definition. The definition is where you can sit comfortably for a long time and think of God. That's as easy as that. So that's asana. That is the yogic definition of asana. What is it like? Sukheneva, in a very pleasant way. Brahmachintanam ajasram, continuous, ajasram means numerous, but continuous flow of thought about Brahman, where you can have that easily, naturally. Know that to be asana. Not anything else which produces aches and pains and you have to struggle with it. If you are meditating on the pain in your knee while sitting in an asana, your posture may be perfect, but your meditation, your mind is on your knee, not on God. So mind should be on God, not on your knee. If it helps to change your posture, do that. If it helps to sit up on a chair, do that. But keep the mind on God. So that is the yogic definition of asana. Now, Shankaracharya says, what is the real meaning of asana according to Advaita Vedanta? Here a little bit of Sanskrit. That's why I've got this book. There is a commentary on this Aparokshanubhuti by the great Vidyaranya. This book was written about 1500 years ago, Aparokshanubhuti. Vidyaranya, the famous author of Panchadashi, he wrote a commentary on the Aparokshanubhuti in Sanskrit. And that commentary, in that it's very helpful to understand some things. So there he says, how this idea of asana, where you can sit and think about God easily without any aches and pains, how that means Brahman, he gives the interpretation. This requires a little bit of reinterpretation in Sanskrit. There is a word in this verse, sukheneva. Now, if you split it up, analyze that word. In English, it means easily or pleasantly. If you split it up, it becomes sukhena eva, which means in this way pleasantly. So in this way pleasantly, if you think about God, that is asana, that posture. So that's one way of splitting up the word. Now, Vidyaranya takes up another way of splitting up the word, which is, I would say, pretty clever. He says, Sukhe naiva, split it up this way. Sukhe naiva. Yasmin sukhe sukharupe brahmani chintanam naiva bhavet. Chinta naiva bhavet. Brahman, sukha means bliss. Bliss is Brahman. So, in that bliss in which thoughts do not come. That's the meaning of sukhe naiva. So there are two meanings of that particular phrase, that particular word. One meaning is where pleasantly in this way you can think about God. That is the preliminary yogic meaning. The other meaning is the bliss in which thoughts do not intrude. Sukhe means in that bliss. Which bliss? Brahman. Naiva chinta. No thoughts will come. No thoughts come into that bliss. So that bliss, that Satchidananda, where thoughts do not intrude, that is asana. Stay there. I was just reading today in a life of Swami Brahmananda. He tells Swami Vasudevananda that, when you meditate, drop all thoughts from the mind It will not. You will think the mind will become a vacuum. It will not. What is left behind is the shining Brahman. He said, when there was a pitcher of water. If you empty the pitcher of water from all the water, then you appreciate the space inside. When the water was there, the space was there also at that time. But if you ask what is there in that pitcher, you will say water. You don't appreciate the space. If you empty the water, the space becomes clear. And then Swami Brahmananda says, what I have taught you now, this you can understand to some extent through Vedanta Vichara. What we are doing now, Vedanta Vichara? What Vedanta Vichara, the inquiry, Vedantic inquiry, what it tries to do is, while the pitcher of water is there, while water is there in the pitcher, through your intellect, through your understanding, try to understand the space is also there. Though the water appears, the space is also there. That's what Vedanta is trying to do. Right here, in this world, in this thought, in this body, mind, within our daily activities, you're trying to discern Brahman, to find and stabilize yourself in the background consciousness. Not easy. He says the yogic path is, you empty the water. Then the space there becomes evident. If you empty the water in the pitcher, then will not the space become evident? Vedanta says when the water was there, was the space there or not? Yes. And say, no, the space was filled up. It was filled up or not? It must have been there, otherwise where will the water stay? Not only that, the space is not affected by the water. Does the space become wet? The jar becomes wet. But that particular space, will it become wet? No. So, Brahman is right here in the midst of all your thoughts. Happy thoughts, miserable thoughts, worldly thoughts, religious thoughts. In the middle of all of this, Brahman is right here. But we are unable to separate that Satchidananda from thoughts. So the yogic path is empty your mind of thoughts. Then Brahman becomes, or that Satchidananda becomes evident. The teaching is not complete, but you have a question?
So the space will not become wet or hot, but it can become holy, no?
He's asking space can become holy or not. Yeah, there when you say the earlier practice of space, there it means desha, a place. A place. It becomes holy by association, by vibrations. Space as such is always holy because it's untouched by anything. Now the teaching is not complete here. Brahmananda went on to say something further. The yogic method, he says, is to empty the pitcher. You will think then the mind will become vacuum if you empty all thoughts. Not vacuum. Satchidananda becomes clear then, that there is a witness consciousness. Then he says another way is, remove the impure water. You fill it with noble thoughts, thoughts of God, sattvic thoughts. Then what will happen? The word phrasing is very interesting. He says, those noble thoughts will clearly shine in the light of Brahman. So, he says, for example, if you think of the name and form of Ishta Devata, of God, then it will shine in the light of Brahman. Everything is shining in the light of Brahman. Even an unholy thought is shining in the light of Brahman. This I am adding, tika, tippani, commentary. Brahmananda did not say this. Even an unholy thought is shining in the light of Brahman. But there the mind is fixed on the unholy thought. It misses that Brahman which is consciousness itself. But a sattvic thought, a holy thought, a spiritual thought is somewhat transparent. So when that appears, same light of Brahman means pure consciousness. Brahman itself is light. But that holy name and form does not obscure the light. It reveals the light itself, yes.
One more way to look at it perhaps could be that even if the pot is filled with water entirely, the water molecules themselves always have space in them. Whether it's water or solid, they always have space in them.
Yeah, most of it is space. Most of every molecule, in fact every atom, most of it is space. But we're still going on with the example. But here, so there's one way is to fill up the mind with the mantra of God, with the form of God. That name and form, a holy name and form, do not obscure pure consciousness. So then Swami Brahmananda tells Vasudevanandaji that today what I have given you is a very secret instruction. Practice it sincerely, you will get illumination very shortly. Yes.
Are there any signs for people who are on this path, just taking baby steps, where maybe we are in the right direction, we are pointing to that Brahman in little ways?
The question is whether we are going towards Brahman or not. Yes, any number of signs are there. What are the signs? In general, the signs are you have an increased pull towards God, towards spiritual life, and a decreased pull towards the worldly life. That's in general. But small things will be there. Things which used to bother you so much earlier, they don't bother you too much now. Things which would disturb your peace of mind earlier, they don't disturb your peace of mind so much. Things which had no interest for you earlier in philosophy and spiritual life, those you find very sweet and very, very nice to read about, think about. These are all signs of the mind becoming sattvic and being pulled Godward. If you don't want like the use of the term of God, you can say towards the spirit, towards Atman, towards enlightenment. So there are numerous signs that we are not sinking back. In general, don't worry whether I am on the right track or not. As long as you are on the track, you are okay. If you jump off the train, then that's a problem. But as long as we are on the track, it will become more and more intense over time. So he says, that is Sukhasana. One of the postures of sitting is Sukhasana, the pleasant asana. So the Sukhasana in the yogic sense means what? Where I can sit comfortably for a long time and do japa and dhyana, meditation, repeat the name of God. That's the yogic practice. What is the Advaitic idea? Sukha itself is asana. Sukha means Brahman, bliss. That itself is the asana. Are you steadied in the bliss of Brahman or Brahman itself, which is Ananda Swarupa? Are you stabilized in that? Then your asana is correct. No matter what you are doing, walking, talking, doing puja, going to the office, whatever, jogging in the park or whatever, you are stabilized in Brahman. That is Sukhasana. Then another example he takes, this is called Siddhasana. It's another meditation posture. Trying to translate into the posture of the Siddha, perfected. The posture of the perfected. 113. We will do that and stop. Here also you know what he is going to say. What is the real meaning of Siddhasana? Brahman. Siddham yat sarva bhutadi, Siddham yat sarva bhutadi, Vishwadhishtanam abhyayam, Vishwadhishtanam abhyayam, Yasmin siddha samavishta, Yasmin siddha samavishta, Tadvai siddhasanam viduhu, Tadvai siddhasanam viduhu. That is that which is the origin of all beings and the support of the entire universe. You already know what that is, Brahman. Which is unchanging, immutable, and in which the enlightened are completely merged. That is known as Siddhasana. If you go to a yoga teacher and ask Siddhasana, immediately he or she will teach you. You have to sit like this, put your this thigh on that thigh and sit like this and straight. It's a very good posture for meditation. You have to be a little flexible. But here he says, what is Siddhasanam? Where all beings are established, or where all beings come from, which is the substratum of the universe. Substratum of the universe means, what is the reality of this universe? It's like asking, what is the reality of this altar? Wood. We normally say, what is it made of? It's wood. Rather, Vedanta would say, the reality is wood, and it has the name and form of an altar. The substratum of this altar is wood. Look at the ocean, the waves there. The substratum of the waves is water. The substratum of the golden ornament is gold. What is the substratum of the universe? That Brahman is, now you've attended too many Vedanta classes. Immediately it'll say Brahman is the substratum. In what sense? You can say in the sense of isness. What is the one common unchanging thing you will find in everything that exists? Existence itself. Isness. That being, pure being, isness. It's everywhere. In fact, everywhere exists in pure being. Even time and space. Time is, when you say, that means isness is the substratum of time also. Space is. If it were not so, then space is not. Space would disappear. If is cannot be applied, then it will become is not. So being, sat, in Sanskrit, sat. Sat means pure existence or pure being. Pure being is the substratum of the universe. You think, okay, so pure being is substratum of the universe. Such abstract, dry things. Not abstract, dry, it's you. We're talking about you. In Chandogya Upanishad, when the teacher, Shvetaketu's father, talked about pure being, sat, pure existence, I'm sure Shvetaketu also looked bored. Okay. High philosophy. What have I got to do with it? And then his father said, most famous equation in Vedanta. Tat tvamasi Shvetaketu. That thou art, O Shvetaketu. That pure existence, thou art. Now Shvetaketu cannot say anymore, I'm not interested. How can you not be interested? It's you. What is the most interesting subject in the world? I. I, this person. For me, it's the most important thing. I was just reading a book by Robert Wright. He says how meditation promotes happiness. And he writes in a humorous way. He says, I firmly support happiness, especially mine. I'm a firm believer in happiness, especially mine. Similarly, we're a firm believer in existence, especially mine. I should exist. So when he says, you are that existence, so that existence is the support of the universe. Anything, all the things that come and go, all things that come and go, they come and go from that being, that existence. In Sanskrit, there are two words, sadhya, siddha. Sadhya means what you want, your goal, sadhya. Siddha means what is always there, what is ever there, permanently ever achieved. Siddha means achieved, permanently accomplished, ever accomplished. What is sadhya? What is the goal? For the unregenerate, for the unrefined, for the instinctive, kama, artha, pleasure, wealth, power. That seems to be the easiest way to happiness. That seems to be the direct way to happiness. Such people are called in Vedanta pamara. Pamara is a term which means the unrefined, instinctive life. Nobody has to be taught that. So you immediately go towards pleasure. This will give me pleasure. It will give me a flash of pleasure. I'll do that. Sing, dance, be merry. One young lady who came here, she's working in a company. She said, all day long, my colleagues, all other young people working in this big multinational company on Wall Street, they're all slogging away from morning till night. And then they're earning a lot of money. And then what do they do with that money? When they get that money, they will go out hopping from one bar to another, from one discotheque to another, or shopping from one window to another, shopping. So, why? It is happy. It's pleasurable. Is that good or bad? I will not say directly that's bad. But what is necessary is, if you will want to try that out, try it out intelligently. Do it sometime and then see, did it make me happy? Did it give anything lasting? You'll see very soon nothing in it. Time is flowing away. Money is flowing away. Energy is lost. What have you retained from that? Nothing. Even repeating it again and again, how many times will you repeat that? So, intelligent person will see through that. That's the first level Sadhya, the term sadhya means goal, not pleasure or wealth. The higher, more sustainable approach is that I want pleasure, I want success in life, but within decency, within morality, something sustainable. Environment should not be damaged, society should be supported, I should be able to help people. All of these good goals in society, for the environment, for the society. Children are always taught this in schools. What will make for a more harmonious society, what will make for a better environment. So still the goal is power and wealth and enjoyment, but sustainable. So that is called, sadhya becomes dharma artha kama. Not just artha and kama, wealth and pleasure. But wealth and pleasure on a foundation of morality and ethics in a sustainable way. Such a person is called Vishayi, a worldly person, but a decent worldly person. What most people in society are law-abiding folks, they would like to think of themselves as good people. And society has to be built on a foundation of such people. If all were just out to make a quick buck, society would collapse. So that's the next level. But they have a sadhya, I want this. I want kama, pleasure, artha, money, but on the basis of dharma, basis of morality. Sadhya, that's the goal. Then you go further. That's not the goal. The goal is whatever the higher religion, spirituality is telling me, God realization or nirvana or moksha or enlightenment or salvation, a spiritual goal in life. Not just chasing this pleasure and power and wealth. So such a person, what is the goal? Moksha. Remember, the goal is sadhya. Sadhya means to be attained. So what are we trying to attain? Now we are trying to attain moksha. The other things are still there in life, they become secondary. They are not the reason for living. The reason for living is spiritual reason for living. Still we are seeking something. Sadhya. There's a reason why I'm saying all this is I'm going somewhere with it. Then such people are called sadhaka, spiritual seekers. So about most of the people who come to this place, the Vedanta society, they are in some sense or the other sadhaka, spiritual seeker. Otherwise they wouldn't come. There is something higher than sadhaka also. And here is the point of saying all this. It's called siddha. The word which was used, siddhasana. Siddha means person who is already established, is not seeking anything. Not seeking pleasure, not seeking wealth, not seeking dharma, morality or ethics, not seeking enlightenment also. Shankaracharya sings, na dharmo na chartho na kamo na moksha chidananda rupa shivoham shivoham. That is siddha. That is called siddhasana. You're not seeking spirituality also. Why? Because already he knows that spirituality I can never lose it. It is my own nature. Established in that, I can never lose it. Even trying also I cannot lose it. I am Brahman. Always was, am, will be. This little show, which I call this life, it's now a show. It's not my A to Z. It's not my be all and end all. Once one has realized that, one is sitting in siddhasana, the posture of the perfected. So that person may be sitting like this, maybe sitting in a chair, maybe walking around, maybe being upside down in the shirshasana, headstand, or whatever posture it is. It is siddhasana, established in the reality. What is the posture of the perfected? The perfected are ever established in reality. We are established in dreams. That's why the sand is always shifting under our feet. So siddha, established in reality. So asana, that takes care of asana, sitting. By now we have got a suspicion that everything that Shankaracharya will say, ultimately he will bring it around to Brahman, and you will be right. But in the process we will learn many things. It's an indication for our spiritual life. When we are meditating, so is it enough to keep a posture correct, or is it more important to keep the mind on God? That's what he's pointing towards. Are you established in yourself, in your reality as Aham Brahmasmi? That's the point of all of these practices. Okay. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.